Hello everyone! I'm here to show you a watercolor technique that I've been using for years. I think it's a really cool way to use up watercolor, and it leaves such a great pattern and such wonderful color. So I'm going to show you some of my samples, examples, do a reveal first so you can see, and then I'll show you exactly how I go about doing this. Basically, I'm using any kind of watercolor. You can use inks, acrylic ink, or whatever you have, as long as it has water, a lot of water to it. And then I use a bunch of different items, plastic usually, and place the items on top of splotches, puddles, pools of watercolor, and let it dry. So you can do this with so many different things. This one is done with plastic wrap, and this one's aluminum foil. It's a little bit more blocky. I use grids like cross-stitch mesh. I have a fly swatter that has this design, and I really like that one a lot. Larger cross-stitch mesh. I can use stencils. This is a fly swatter. Cross-stitch mesh. Bubble wrap. This one's the big bubble wrap. And then smaller bubble wrap on black. Two-tone, one-tone. This one turned out really, really cool. I just love this, and I'm afraid to do anything with it because I like it so much. And this was that big oval bubble wrap stuff. I just wanted to see what it would do, and it just kind of made a cool, interesting little pattern. So let me show you some of the items that I use. And I did this so that you can see a really good reveal. Here's the cross-stitch mesh, and I love the circular one. So I put a lot of dark purple on this one. So what happens is you brush the watercolor to the paper, and when you put the object on top of puddles, the pigment gathers where it touches, the item touches the paper, and it gets trapped. So when the water starts evaporating, the pigment is left where the item rested against the paper. So you never know exactly what you're going to get. This one's a very subtle, light color. And this is just a trivet, one of those silicone trivets that I really like. So that's what I use. I use a tray or a pad of paper, and I get the paper pretty wet, and then I put my items on there, and then I weight them down to make sure that that item is touching the plastic, and then I let it dry. There's no way to do this quickly. It's one of those that takes some patience. So this is a Lego board that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's one of the generic ones. And I love this one. I just love the pattern that makes. I used green and purple in there, and yeah, I like that one a lot. So here is one. This is a piece of paper that I used, and there was a lot of water on it, so I put another piece of paper on top. And I can use that for collage fodder, paint some more on there, add some more color or whatever. But this is just a stencil. And you can see the little polka dots. Another stencil and a shelf liner made to polka dots. I love the stencils. The stencils are fun. Put these things over here. Here's my fly swatter that I got at the Dollar Tree many years ago. I took the handle off of it and I use it for all kinds of fun things. But look how cool that is. And here's some bubble wrap. Now I do this on white paper, but I also do it on pastels. I like pastel paper because I don't have to add quite so much pigment at the beginning. Let me just put this stuff away. And it still has a lot of color, and it still works out really well. So let me put these away. So let me show you how I do this. I'm going to do it on a paper pad. That way I can move it aside and let it dry naturally. It's got a little bit of blue on it, but that is fine. So I am just using, for this, I'm just using Prang Children's watercolor. If you use a better watercolor with more pigment, you don't have to use quite as much water and it dries faster. But I find that this cheap stuff, since I use so much of it, works just fine. So I am going to put some water in the green, and I'm going to brush some water on the page. I'm going to make the whole page green here. And like I said, I do sometimes, a lot of times I will use pastel papers, so I don't have to really do this part and add so much water to it. But let me get some green going, just as a base color. And then you want to add little splotches of a contrasting color. See if I've got some blue in here that I can use. Blue is pretty much used up. Yeah. Blue is used up. Okay, so I am going to use a metallic to add a contrasting color. And I will use some of that blue and make puddles. Gives me a two-tone kind of deal, which I really like. Okay, so that should be enough for this example. And I will use some plastic wrap. And what I do is I push it in there and I make wrinkles. I push it around until the pigment gets caught by the water. Probably needed a little bit more color in there. So let me add in these places that just need more color. You can see kind of how, there we go, how the color gets trapped. There needs to be a little bit more there. And that is going to be good. It's going to be a light color. And then on this side, here for the brush there, I am going to put some bubble wrap. Now you can brush the pigment right on the bubble wrap. And then lay it down, and you can see where the pigment is getting trapped by all that wonderful color. Wherever the plastic is touching the paper, that is where the pigment's going to get trapped. And that one's going to be really pretty. And so there's no way to quickly dry these. I let them dry naturally overnight, and then I pull off the stuff and get a nice surprise of what the page looks like. We can do another one with some of these little items. Some circles on this page. Must have done some circles before. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to place this on top of it just like that. And then I can add some contrasting color right on top of it. Make sure there's enough water to make it go down into the item. Let me do another one. I was going to use some of the FW acrylic ink. Now I need to water this down just a little bit. So I'm going to put some in a dish. I'm going to add a little bit of this water. Just a little bit of water to make sure it's not too thick. And then you can actually, well, let me put a different item down. We'll put that stencil down and just kind of pour, oops, some of that in there. I do like a little bit of contrast, so I'm going to add some color to it. That is really shimmery. Let me do some of this dark green. Maybe just add some dark green to the top of this. And I was going to use this, but I might as well use that. All right. I need more contrast. Green on the green is not working really well for me. There's a bit of blue. That looks really good. A little bit of blue on this side. there's some purple in there. That would be real cool. There's some contrast. And when I use objects like this, I want to make sure that the object is touching the paper and trapping that pigment really well. I want something small over here. Do I have something? I really don't. I will use this. Let's use up that paint. See what happens. And when I do objects like this, I need to make sure that they're weighted down. So I use a bag of rice and make sure that everything is touching. And I've just put weights on everything to make sure that the object is touching the paper, trapping that pigment, and then I don't touch it. I don't do anything. I just let it dry naturally. Usually overnight works really well, and I don't have to do a whole lot more after that. And then in the morning, I can lift up all the stuff and see all the magic that's happened. So use all kinds of different objects that have little patterns in them, and it's fun just to see what happens with different stuff. So I hope you all have fun with this. Like I said, I've used it for years. I use it for everything. I use it for collage fodder. I use it for backgrounds. I really enjoy the color and the patterns that it creates. So thanks for watching.